Yo, 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 what's up, Metro5? This is your weekly dose of Chasing Smoke, a podcast for wrestlers by wrestlers. I'm your host, Smokey. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Subject06. Before we dive into this week's episode, we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Versus Athletics, Mat Rivals, Right Now Beach Boulevard, Every Kid Foundation, and Flame Broiler. Big love to the Florida Wrestling Room, Cobra Wrestling, Duval Sports, and Earn Your Gold as well. The best don't wait, and neither do we. So let's get after it. What's up, Subject06? How's it going this week?
Going pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm awesome, man. I'm awesome. So let's dive right into it. What are we talking about today?
So a lot of wrestling happened, especially with our St. Johns County championships. We'll kind of come back to that at the end because there were some pretty big upsets that, happened. First, I kind of just want to look at Middleburg. They went to Heritage Hammer Duels. They had two undefeated wrestlers, Gavin Fisher at 113 and 120. He was flopping around with Nathan Harvey, two solid wrestlers high up on the rankings. And then we had Wyatt LeDuc, 6-1, dropping a really close match to Eric Hodge. Brother of Kendrick Hodge. Solid
from Somerset,
right. Yeah, solid group.
Solid group. Yeah, I mean Middleburg is a stacked team with a bunch of young kids coming back next year, right?
Definitely.
I think one of the biggest losses they're gonna have is Wyatt LeDuc. How do you see Wyatt finishing this season? I got him as a finalist. I want to see him. I mean, he's been working really hard. He's been at the state tournament. I think
he's placed at the state tournament.
I think he's been at the state tournament all 4 years of his high school career, if I'm not mistaken. And I know he's placed at least once for sure, if not twice. But what do you see him falling at this year?
I'm definitely gonna say a top four. I definitely see him making the semis. At state.
Do we know Do we know? I know they're 2A. Do we know who's sitting possibly in his way at 2A? Somerset, are they a 1A or 2A school?
Somerset is 1A.
Somerset is 1A. Okay.
Is Tampa Jesuit? Are they 2A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesuit.
So I mean, Jesuit is gonna be tough.
You got Lake Gibson. You got Brandon. Definitely some tough schools in the 2A. In the 2A bracket, for sure, in the 2A class.
But that's also what makes Wyatt special. That kid's gritty. He gets down into the match and he knows when to work.
Yeah, I love watching him wrestle, man. Especially when he's touring with kids, having fun. It seems like he likes to have fun.
He likes to have fun, and that's why he's so successful.
Yes. Gotta have fun out there, young kids. If you're listening, you gotta have fun while you're wrestling. And I'm not talking about like grab ass fun. But I'm talking about just like having
getting
fun.
On the podium.
Yeah, having fun wrestling. Like it's a cool thing to do. Moving on from the Heritage Tournament, I think we have Cap City. I know there's a couple teams from Metro5 that was out there. Ridgeview, BK, Reigns, Fernandina were out there. Our kid Dylan Lunsford took first, 126. That's a kid, man. Every time I see that kid, we're talking about the state tournament, and I'm asking him about the state tournament. Where does he see? Like, he's placing this year at the state tournament. He's 100% convinced that he's placing at the state tournament. And I tell you, confidence is a motherfucker, right? Confidence is everything. And when you believe that you belong somewhere, you're gonna put in the work to belong, and you're gonna go out there and earn every bit of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing Dylan step on that podium this year at the state tournament. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna put him as high as like in the top 4. I'm gonna put him in the top 4 in the 1A class. He's gonna have to work for sure, but I think he's ready. He's a junior, and I think he's ready for the challenge. So congratulations to Dylan Lunsford for taking first at the Cap City tournament.
Mm-hmm. And then just two Fernandina kids came in. Fourth place at 215, Anthony Fancher, and at heavyweight, Felix McDuffie. Both of these kids, they've kind of been cruising through their year, picking up some decent wins. I look forward to seeing both of them, possibly regional semifinalists.
They're probably some blood round kids, right? That if they when it comes to blood round, being a blood round kid, it's not about technique, it's all about heart, right? Like, who wants it the most? Who wants it more, right? Like, hey, you're in the blood round, this is the last match that could end your career, right? It's like, who wants it more at that point? Moving on. Man, I love, what I do love is, like, I believe, like, maybe not everyone sees it the way we see it, but I believe wrestling is growing tremendously in Jacksonville, Florida right now. And one of the biggest signs of that is First Coast, right? First Coast had like maybe 5 kids on their team this year, and this year, maybe 5 kids on their team last year, and this year they have not only a full roster with JV kids, but they're going out and winning, like taking first in conference tournaments in certain weight classes. They're placing their kids at bigger tournaments this season, and they just went out and beat Orange Park, West Side, Atlantic Coast in a quad meet. Right, it came in first in that quad meet. So it's showing that growth is happening in Jacksonville, and I couldn't be more than like, I'm just giddy over the fact that like parents, kids, everybody's involved in the community and culture is starting to step up, understand the importance of wrestling, and it's awesome to watch happen.
Definitely, especially I do believe they just got new staff for their coaching as well. Yes.
Yeah. They just got new staff, and those, like,
which that can be detrimental to a program in both ways.
Yeah, but they got staff of people who love the school. They love the school, and they're not. I don't think they're actually like they grew up wrestling or anything, but they love the school. They love the kids, and they want to have a successful program. And that's all it really takes at the end of the day. I try to tell kids all the time, don't get so caught up on who your coach is, and more caught up in a situation of, is your coach doing what's necessary for you to be a champ, right? Because not all coaches have been blessed with the ability to wrestle. They didn't know about it, whatever the case may be. They might just happen to be a security guard or teacher at the school that just like, hey, they picked up the job as extra income, and they fell in love with the sport, and now they're trying to get kids as good as they can get them, right? And that's why clubs exist, right? So if you're at a school, with a program that might not have like some of the best coaching, or your coaches might not be up to par with the level of wrestling that's going on, find yourself a club. In Jacksonville, you have Clay, you have Middleburg has a club, you have NFWA has a club, you have Applied Pressure has a club, you have Black Hive has a club.
Did you say Clay already?
Yeah, Clay. I said Clay first. Oakley pretty much have clubs. So you have these spaces where you can venture into and get more wrestling, right? You can get more educational wrestling. You can get more wrestling partners and different wrestling partners. And we firmly believe that here where we're at is that with our club is that like, bro, like we have our core group of kids that train underneath us, and then we have kids that come in and out of the room. We send our kids to other places, to pick up things, and they bring those things back, and we kind of mix and mix styles and have fun with it, right? At the end of the day, our only goal with Smoke Check Wrestling, with Black Hive Wrestling Club, with the Versus Athletic Training Center, is to make Jacksonville great again, right? Jacksonville used to have a great wrestling community, a great wrestling scene. It used to be where that conference tournament, that Gateway Conference tournament, was the real deal. Like, it was practically a regional tournament between like Jacksonville school, because most of us were 6A schools at that time, and if you were placing in that tournament, you were definitely going to be a state qualifier, if not a state placer. We know the same thing doesn't run true right now, but hopefully with the help of the clubs that's popping up, with the help of Smoke Check Wrestling, with the continued help of Cobra Wrestling, with the continued help of Earn Your Goal, with the continued help of the Florida Wrestling Room, and Apply Pressure, Johan is doing amazing things, between Jacksonville and the Bartram area. Creeks Wrestling Club with Matt Turner has over 300 plus youth wrestlers in it. I mean, there's amazing things happening in the community of wrestling in Jacksonville, and we have to firmly stand behind it and support those things that are happening. And support isn't necessarily about financial support, right? It's not about support of the, people talk about support as in meaning that the people who are already involved in wrestling must support wrestling. We're already supporting wrestling. We're involved in wrestling. We have to grow the sport of wrestling by getting out in these middle schools, in these elementary schools. I personally myself go to ballparks. Like half of my wrestling team, my youth wrestling team, is comprised of all stud baseball players, dude.
And flag football
and,
kids.
And flag football kids, dude. Like I love like every kid I have isn't just strictly a wrestler. I'm going out and I'm finding kids and giving them other alternatives to make them good at the sport they're already in by introducing wrestling to them. And as coaches, we have to find more coaches to go out there and get in these streets and do the dirty work. I'm willing to do the dirty work. You guys got to be willing to do the dirty work as well. Any last thoughts on that?
Not really. I mean, just we really do need to pick it up on the coaching side. I do feel like that's why a lot of teams fall apart. I mean, just either lackadaisical coaching staff, they're not doing what they need to do in seed meetings, they're not effectively structuring practice. Sometimes wrestlers need to step up and create that atmosphere in the room, right?
Yeah, like, for sure.
Which unfortunately that shouldn't really happen, but it does, and that falls back onto you. You can be that change. You can get some of your friends to join. You know, it's just you and 3 other kids circling in and out, getting better. I mean,
yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. All right, moving on to the highlight of what we would consider this weekend was the St. Johns County Championships hosted by Nice High School this weekend. And Seth was there probably throughout a lot of the constellations leading back up. Like, I think he got there right after the semifinal matches, and he was there, you know, from there on to the finals. I got there right at the finals as Cole Anderson was, staking claim and letting everybody know that he's back, which was awesome to see him take heavyweight at Creekside. That was awesome to see. We're just going to go through the list and kind of knock out the winners first of who won at each weight class, and then we'll kind of come back and talk about some things that we saw at the tournament. We got some questions to ask, and this is
a couple upsets
to talk about, right? So this is kind of like the beef of the podcast today. It's the St. Johns County Championship. So at 106, we had Luke Mims from Creekside.
At 113, Walter Howard. 120, Aiden Hubble. 126, Justin Umali. 132, Stefan Carrion. 138, Brady Stoutmeyer. 144, Carter Lukes. 150, John Antonucci. 157, Nikita Tchaikovsky. 167, Vlad Tchaikovsky. 175, Jonathan Morrison. 190, Colton Lavelle. 215, Callum Babin. And, of course, heavyweight was Cole Anderson.
All right. So I'm going to personally have to give the biggest upset of the weekend to Brady Stoudemire. That kid was an absolute stud. I just found out that he's working with an old school alumni wrestler, Jacob, that wrestled for Nice as well. And you can actually see a difference in Brady's wrestling
from the beginning.
Yeah, from his first tournament, the Optimus tournament, when he wrestled him and Seth in the finals. And yes, he beat Seth in the finals. But Brady yesterday would beat Brady Saturday will beat the shit out of Brady from Optimus at the beginning of the season. It was that big of a difference. So I'm actually stoked about that kid, man. He had a 9-1 victory over Mason Damon from Boston Trail. Now, I will say this. I don't like to give a lot of excuses for anyone or whatnot. Brady definitely earned that win. He definitely beat him 9-1. To me, personally, I know that Damus is coming off some injuries. And to me, it seemed like he was still injured. But that's nevertheless, I mean, you step out on the mat, you go toe-to-toe with somebody, you've neglected, like you've agreed that the injuries didn't matter at that point, right? I still think Brady's gonna run deep into the districts. It's gonna be. I think 138 is pretty tough in our district. You got a bunch of kids in there that could really do some damage, and I think Brady. I see him in the finals. He could be in the finals against Seth. He could be in the finals against Mason. It's just really about how those cards fall. Obviously, he's going to be the number 1 seed. Mason Damus will probably be 2. Did you wrestle Mason?
I haven't wrestled Mason.
You guys got like opponents that you beat? He's lost to. I mean, he's only have like what 2 or 3 losses this season. So
Yeah.
it'll probably be Mason at 2.
Probably me at 3. I beat everybody else.
Seth
in the
at
division.
3, and then
Probably Landon Cavinas at 4 if I had to guess.
either Landon Cavinas or
Caleb Brooks from Creekside, I think.
or Duncan, right?
Or Kellen Duncan. Oh, yeah, Kellen Duncan from Oakleaf.
From Oakleaf, right?
Yeah.
So that 4th spot, really, I mean, it's going to make a huge difference because whoever doesn't get the 4th spot, I mean, you're going to get some studs.
You're going to get a first-round pull.
Yeah, you're going to get studs right out the gate, right? So, to me, the biggest upset of the whole tournament was the Brady Stoudemire Mason Davis match. But there was a couple other upsets at the tournament, too. I'll let Seth talk about one of them.
Our boy Walter Howard hopping on the rankings this week. He gets a pretty big, significant win over James Ruda from Creekside. He just wrestled a really dominant match. I believe he beat him 14-2 in their finals match. I mean, the kid's a little meatball, bro. He's strong. He's got mat knowledge. He knows where to be. I believe he's like 32-6 right now. I mean,
Yeah, he has a pretty decent record.
He's got a good record, and he's really he kind of knows what's up.
He's 35-6.
Yeah,
actually.
35-6. But yeah, I mean, that kid is definitely, look out for him. That I think he's going to be a pretty high flyer in regionals. A lot of kids don't really see him coming.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, B-Side had this. I mean, the Day Brothers, bro, they really okey-doked the whole Metro 5, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they okey-doked the whole Metro 5. And I say that because they were going to these tournaments, right? And this is why Smoke Check Wrestling wants to come out with a tournament ranking system as well, where we rank the tournaments through like 1 smoke through 5 smokes, right? And so they're going to these tournaments, right? And I mean, they're like, you know, West Side, they're going to Wolfson, they're wrestling teams like Ant White, who these teams we're talking about they're not great teams right now. They're not great programs. They may have a couple kids here and there, but they're not fully great programs. So when you see a tournament that's in Jacksonville, you don't think that the tournament is going to be you don't think the wrestling is going to be great. But Beachside kids have been showing up and waxing everybody at those tournaments and then coming into even better tournaments and still placing, which means that the Day Brothers over there at Beachside definitely know what they're doing for sure. Because they're keeping their kids under wraps. No one knows about who they are until it's way too late. Yeah. Right? You can't get no study on them. You can't get no information on them. And they're coming in, and we're starting to see a lot of kids from Beachside like
placing
at tournaments, and they're starting to creep up on the rankings. I'm gonna tell you, St. Johns County. You know, I'm a Duval County wrestler. I'm a Duval County supporter. Everything I do is in Duval County. I will say this about St. Johns County right now. Watch out. St. Johns County is all their schools are on the come up. They all have young wrestlers. I'm saying each team may have
a couple of them have 8th graders, 7th graders.
Yeah, each team may have like 3-4 seniors on the team, and not even all those seniors are starting, right? So you know that there's that, right? There's that. So be on the lookout for St. Johns County. They're definitely on the come up. It's gonna be very interesting to watch Tukoi and Creekside battle it out next year with Beachside. Yeah, in this St. Johns County Championship next year, it's gonna be very interesting to see what that looks like.
And we also had a pretty big shake-up on our team scores here for sure.
Yeah, we'll get to team scores in a little bit. There's still some wrestlers on here. Vlad's doing what Vlad does. He's still undefeated on the season. I want to see what Vlad does, man. I'm not gonna lie. Vlad's a finalist, in my opinion. I see him as a finalist this year at the state tournament. You're going to have to really come after him. You're going to have to get after him if you want to beat him this year. I'm interested to see what he does, but I'm more interested to see him and Money McNair at Metro 5, who's number 1. We got some details on that event coming up here soon. But before we do that, just want to give a shout out to a couple of our sponsors. Right now, Beach Boulevard, if you're looking for any kind of power sport unit, whether it's a boat, whether it's a jet ski, a motorcycle, a moped, a side-by-side, a four-wheeler, whatever you're looking for, hit them up. A little shout-outs to TFWR, Earn Your Gold, Cobra Wrestling, and Duval Sports. I want to give a shout out, another thank you to Versus Athletics, our gym, who allows us to do this here. Want to give a shout out to Matt Rivals tournament company that's going to be popping up here on the scene very soon. Shout out, thank you to our sponsors, Black Hive Wrestling Club, for always helping out. And a big shout out, big thank you to our sponsor, AIM Printing and Graphics. If you ever need anything printed, when it comes to, anything printed, let us know, man. We got the connects all around the world. We want to thank all around Jacksonville, right? We want to thank all our sponsors for helping us out,
Especially flame broilers.
Yeah, especially flame broilers, man.
Quality fuel for our athletes.
Yeah,
dude.
man. Here, we use flame broilers over the summer
All
for
the
our
time.
camps, and it's great. The kids love it. They're eating healthy. They don't even understand it, but it's really great. What else did we see at the St. Johns County Championship that was?
I wouldn't say it's just at St. Johns, Coach. I mean, this is kind of an epidemic across the nation. Kids, they're wrestling absolutely no tournaments throughout the season. They're coming in at these big tournaments, and just because they're a state qualifier or, regional blood final, getting farther than this kid, they're getting seated super high, and I just don't think it's fair. I think that we need to reward active wrestlers.
Yeah, so that's one thing about Smoke Check Wrestling and our rankings, right? Like, if you get hurt, we give you about a week, right? If you're not back on the mat in a week, then you're definitely falling probably off the rankings, right? So, like, let us know, what do you feel? How do you feel about kids who don't wrestle all season, then they come in to a tournament, and then they're seated number one in that tournament based off of what they've done previous to that season, right? So maybe last year they were a state qualifier, maybe they were a state placer. Obviously, if a state champ comes into the season late because of injury or whatever the case may be, I mean, there's some serious talk about that kid being a number one seed. But if you're not a state champ or not a state finalist, maybe even as a third place spot, right? How do you feel about kids fourth? Let's put a number on it. How do you feel about kids who may place fourth and lower, or just qualified for state, been able to not wrestle all season, come into a qualifying tournament so they can make scratch weight for the district tournament? How do you feel about them being seated as super high, right? As the first seed, right? Do you find that fair, right? That's one of the biggest questions we're going to leave you with today when we're talking about when we're running it down, right? Other than that, go back real quick. Not really go back. Just kind of talk about, like, right, we're going to drop rankings today, right? And you're going to see on the rankings, there's going to be a lot of mix-up. And this is because how we decide our rankings. So we're going to go over this and talk about it again. I feel like it's something we have to talk about every time so people can understand how we come about the decisions that we make. It's kind of simple, right? But then there's a lot of thought process that goes into it behind the scenes or whatnot. Obviously, head-to-heads matter the most with us. Active wrestlers, right? Head-to-head, active wrestlers are our top priority, right? So if there's a head-to-head at a match, at a tournament, obviously those kids are going to jump. Even if you're not ranked and you beat a kid that may be number 3 on the rankings, right? You beat a kid that may be 3 on the rankings and you weren't ranked, where do you think you're going to jump? You're going to jump to 3, bro. Like, that's how it works with us, right? Like, you weren't ranked and you beat a kid number 3. You beat, screw all those other kids, man. You just beat this kid, right? Like, this kid was ranked number 3. He was already better than all these kids, right?
All those other kids.
So that's how it kind of goes. So from head to heads, then we start to look at finishes at tournaments. Like, what did you place at this tournament? We typically will give credential to a first and a second place finish. We will give credential to a third place finish if we believe the tournament was hard. We will give fourth place credential and think about adding them to the rankings or moving them up if the tournament was extremely difficult, right? If the weight class they were in was just
Deep.
studded out and deep, right? We will definitely take that in consideration. Once you get out of the tournament placing, then you have to start thinking about records. Then you have to start thinking about like opponents, right? And we want to like go back to things that happened previous, but with so much toss up, how far do you go back, right? What makes the most sense, right? You don't know. You don't know. And so you just try to figure it out. And we try to use a little common sense with it too. But at the end of the day, we think we come up with the best possible solutions. It's really awesome when we do rankings and they play out just as how we have them. There's a lot of situations this weekend where we went to go change the rankings and we didn't have to change anything because either because either teams didn't wrestle or the kids that did wrestle like played out just how we had it. So I think we know a little bit when it comes to this, right? I'm not saying we're the expertise at it, but I think we know what we're doing just a little bit, right? So give us a little bit of credit, pat us on the back a little bit. We're trying to get everybody seen, trying to get everybody out there. You know what I'm saying? We're really doing big things. We're gonna step back to the St. Johns County Championship because there was co-team champions at that event.
Yeah. So coming in at an even 180.5 points each. Tucoy Creek and Creekside tied for first. They did not give a second. They just co-shared the trophy. Personally, I do think that Tucoy looked like the better team. I think that their bonus rate in the finals, I feel that they just have stronger wrestlers, and I think we're going to see that at districts. Creekside is way more established than Pedro Menendez, than Beachside, than St. Augustine. They're rebuilding programs, right? So our top four weren't really that unexpected. Coming in at third would be Pedro Menendez, and fourth, Ponte Vedra. There were a lot of injuries with Bartram and Nice. Definitely had some of their big hitters out, unfortunately. I believe Jason Choi got injured during his Consi semifinals match. So that's points that they missed that really, really matter in a really close team race, right?
Yeah, and Luke Mangizi actually missed weight at 144, which Carter Lutz from St. Augustine wins the 144 weight class. If Luke Mangizi's at 144,
they win.
They win. Creekside wins. That's why it's important, kids, to make weight. That is the job as a wrestler. That's your first and only job, is to make weight. If you don't make weight, there's no wrestling, right? Whatever's going on where you're missing weight, where you guys are close, where you guys for instance, we haven't talked a lot about him this season because he's only wrestled 3 tournaments, but Kyle Brown, he's a prime example. He's a kid that played 6th last year at state. We had a plan for him over the summer, right? He didn't really adhere to the plan. He comes back in. I'm trying to tell him he needs to wrestle 126. He wants to wrestle 132. And he's missed weight at least 2 times now trying to wrestle 132 because he's trying to play it too safe. He's trying to say, I know what I'm doing. I got it. Guys, there's people who've been cutting weight for a living, for life, right? There's people who've been doing this, and I'm sorry. I was at one point in time, and I didn't know it all then. I don't know it all now, but I definitely believe that I know more than a senior in high school when it comes to this sport because I've been invested and involved in it for 25 plus years, right? And then not only that, I've been a lifelong weight cutter, been entering jiu-jitsu tournaments, entering MMA tournaments, continue to still wrestle throughout my adult lifehood. And just for the simple fact of cutting weight to have fun, right? Like I cut weight for fun at this point, right? It's just something fun to do, to take my body through these different cycles, and then I'll bulk up and I'll cut down. I'll bulk up and I'll cut down. All right, now let's hop into the Metro5 Who's Number One. This is a tournament that we're looking to throw. We got to kind of got like some base principles of how we want the tournament kind of ran and what we want to do. The tournament's gonna be right now. We're looking at the date of May 10th. We try to get some dates in March. We try to get some dates in April. We kind of got this floating date going on right now, with May 10th. It could be later in May. And the reason behind that is because we want to produce the best type of show we can produce for you guys. And we feel like if we try to run it like in March or try to run it in April, it's just not giving us enough time to do the things we need to do, whether that's get sponsors, really lock in a venue. We want to look into possibly getting our own mat for the event. So it gives us the opportunity to do things like that. There's a lot of exciting matchups that we want to see. It looks like we're going to do top 4 in the Metro 5. So what stays in those top 4 in the Metro 5 plus 1 wild card in each weight class. So ultimately there'll be 5 kids competing in the Metro 5 Who's Number One. What's a matchup would you like to see besides the obvious
Vlad and Money McNair?
And Money McNair, right? Both of those kids have, I think Vlad's 36-0 right now.
36-0.
I think Money Mike is about 44 and like 2 or 3 right now. Both of those guys have incredible records. Both of the guys are beating solid kids, but they've yet to see each other during the season, right? What's another matchup you might want to see?
Whoever wrestles Laird.
Laird at 150. Antonucci.
Antonucci Laird.
Antonucci Laird, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a solid match.
Yeah, Antonucci, those wrestling styles, right? Laird has a nice outside single. He's kind of sit back and watch you shoot on him type kind of kid. Antonucci likes to get after it.
He upper body. He's an upper body guy. He's a little tank, bro.
Yeah, I found out that Antonucci does a lot of Eric Paulson stuff. His dad's really into it, and that's really cool to catch that stuff. Getting those little insights about the wrestlers. There's gonna be a lot of great matchups, I feel like, though, at the Metro 5 Who's Number One. There's, like I said, there's a lot of kids that's sneaking into the rankings, that's hopping up there. The 106 is going to be exciting. 113 is going to be exciting. Barnes Fisher. Yeah. And we're going to give you guys, it'll probably be like, format will probably be set up like this. We're going to probably do 2 minute periods. We'll do I guess that 5th guy will have to be a pigtail match into the tournament or whatnot. He'll go against the number 4 person, right off the bat.
What kind of rule set are we gonna run? College or high school? Or are we gonna do a hybrid?
We're gonna do college. We're running a college rule setting all the way through, from points to out of bounds to everything, right? We want to see kids get after it. We want to make it a scoring event. We want people to be scoring. The only thing that we probably won't do is the ride time, obviously, because it's hard to accurately track that with whatever systems we have right now. But who knows, by the time we get there, we may have the systems, right? But nevertheless, couple other things, we're going to be trying to get out belts for the winners, and things like that. We really want to make this a highlighted event that's going to lead into other national events that we want to put on here in Jacksonville. I think it's important that we have a national style tournament here, and we're talking about the growth of the sport of wrestling. It has more to do with just the people who are in wrestling supporting wrestling. It has to do with the people who are in wrestling going out there creating events for our kids here in Jacksonville, creating situations, creating opportunities, having clubs, having clinics. So there's a lot that goes into growing the sport of wrestling over just showing up for an event that that a school may be putting on, or like the IOF series and stuff like that. Like, those things are great for the growth, but more must be done for sure. Other than that, I think that's all we have for today. So until next time, Until next time, we'll see you. Once again, I'm your host, Smokey, signing out with my co-host, Subject06. Once again, we want to give a shout out. Thank all our sponsors, Black Ops Wrestling Club, AIM Printing Graphics, AIM Printing Graphics, Beast Boulevard, Ride Now Beast Boulevard for all your power sports needs. Every Kid Foundation, a group that helps all kids, no matter the race or religion. Flame Brawlers, they keep all our wrestlers healthy. We want to give a shout out to TFWR, Or Your Gold, Carver Wrestling, and Duval Sports. Other than that, peace. We'll see you.